Hello, welcome to this week's Fifth Draft podcast. I am one of your hosts, Hyde, and with me is Colton.
Hello there.
And welcome to the second episode of the Fifth Draft.
Yeah, two more than
Uh,
last time. Doing pretty good.
that's a 200. Well, I guess technically it's an infinite percent increase over the 0 episodes we did the first time we tried to do this.
Or at least the episodes that we uploaded. We did record
Well,
some, but we
well,
never.
okay. There's one on YouTube, but it's unlisted. I
Ah,
actually went back and listened to it last time while uploading the last week's episode.
is it
It
pretty?
wasn't too bad. It
Wasn't
wasn't too bad.
all right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
At least
Um,
in my opinion, but I was part of it, so of course I'm gonna.
I was gonna say my thought would be the opposite. If I'm a part of it, I'm usually thinking it's just I don't like listening to myself, so I think it's
Yeah,
terrible.
well, I've kind of been getting used to it with the editing shit, so
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, the thought process behind this is don't worry about how it is for the beginning. Just keep pushing them out every week,
just
and
just keep doing it, and we'll learn along the way.
that's honestly the best way to do it, right?
Yeah.
Learn as you go.
All right. Well, to start us off, have you been playing anything interesting lately?
So interesting. I can't say that I've been playing anything interesting as much. Obviously, I still been playing Planet Zoo. I've been playing some FIFA. The biggest thing that I've been gaming wise doing is watching streams of people play Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, which is an interesting game that just came out, I believe, this week. And it's essentially the entire Dragon Ball Z story, which will follow into the discussion. Can't say it's a topic because it's just us talking, but the TV show, which has been interesting to just YouTube clips of different portions of the Dragon Ball Z universe that I've enjoyed through my years because when I was growing up, my mother never let me watch it. So that's kind of been
You
that.
never got to watch Dragon Ball Z?
Not when it was coming out, which is hilarious in itself because it's not, it
It's
wasn't
not even
really,
that bad.
yeah, it's just, I mean, it's essentially every episode is the same thing over and over again, right?
Just very muscular men look at each other screaming until one of them becomes stronger.
From screaming. That's
Yes.
pretty funny. Yeah.
That being said, as a fan of JoJo, if someone in that universe doesn't have a power and they watch a fight go down, all they're going to see is two grown men staring at each other very angrily.
Wait. So in the JoJo universe, you're saying that people don't have like if you don't have a power, you don't actually see them fighting. It's like all like
Right.
mental.
Yeah. Well, all right. So I really did not plan on this being a JoJo's uh, episode, but so eventually in the series they get powers called stands, which
Hmm.
is like a psychic embodiment of your fighting spirit.
Okay.
And like the only way you can see a stand is if you have a stand. So like their powers can affect the real world, but you just don't understand why.
Huh.
So like very first episode where they introduce stands, the main character of that season locks himself in jail. And he's like, I'm not coming out. I'm possessed by an evil spirit. And the cops are like, dude, no, get out. Get out. And he goes, oh yeah, I'll prove it. I'll prove that I have an evil spirit. Uses his stand, which is like a power ghost guy, grabs one of the cops' guns, puts it to his own head, pulls the trigger, and the stand catches the bullet before it hits his head. And the cops don't see this, and they're like, "Holy shit!"
Huh.
Yeah,
So
it's
I've
really interesting
watched the first season,
part, probably.
whatever, until the
Did you get to the part where they're in New York?
I got to the part where they burned down his house. The
Okay,
vampire thing.
that's like halfway through the first part.
Yeah. And it just with my show watching, it doesn't matter what the show is. I have to like really enjoy it for me to watch more than like 10 minutes of it. Um,
I'll just say this: the first part is the worst part.
all right, I could see that. I
Again, I
can't
did
see
not
that at
intend for this to be a JoJo episode because
all. Well, that's yeah. I mean, hey, it's just us talking. That's what it's about.
yeah.
The only other thing that I've been playing is Hearthstone on my phone, and not even Hearthstone, the card game, the battle royale chess version that Blizzard put out in Hearthstone.
Oh wait, battle royale like auto chess?
Yeah, so their version of auto chess is you have a character that has a special ability. They're all like different bosses from the single player modes. Um, and then you have a certain amount of gold. You start with 3 gold, and the tavern guy is the opposite side when it's between rounds, and it costs 3 gold to take a card, and the card does something special, and it goes on your board, and then it alternates cards attacking in the same way that they would attack in regular Hearthstone, except it's auto. And then if you get 3 of the same card or unit, they combine to a golden one, and the stats upgrade, and then you get its other stuff. It's it's fantastic for a phone game. It's for my job at least. It's a great time while I'm waiting for stuff to process to play. Each game takes between 15 and 30 minutes.
All right. I haven't touched anything Hearthstone in a while because I'm bad at card games like that, so I just haven't touched it.
Well, the best part is that it's free. So like you
Yeah,
literally don't have to spend any money. At least for now it's free. So um I'll keep playing it until you have to pay something. So
yeah.
what about you? Have you been playing anything this week?
Well, let's see. I tried getting back into Crusader Kings 2, but it's hard to do anything in that game interesting if you don't have any of the DLC. Because every with Paradox games, every time there's like a new expansion, they'll put everything in the base game, but you can't use it unless you have the DLC,
Well,
which
thank God
sucks.
for Humble Bundle they put DLC out for that game all the time.
Yeah, but I didn't have any money for that, so
I
I'll
can
have to keep an eye on Humble Bundle.
I was gonna say I'm looking to see they're they've got Europa Universals 4. That's their bundle.
EU4, okay.
Yeah, that's their.
So yeah, there's that, and then Rainbow Six Siege. I've been playing again this week. They put out a new map temporarily. It's called Stadium.
Just temporarily.
It's a special event map.
For
It's
what?
they finally released their battle pass system. So they're doing a whole event where it's like, oh hey, they're competitively being anti-terrorist soldiers and they're competing in this arena. And it's like the map is like a hodgepodge of like 5 different maps from the game.
Explain this for us who are not in the know for that specific game. What is their battle pass? What is this new battle pass thing?
Well, the battle pass is like battle pass from any other game, like Fortnite or any other games as a service type deal, where it's like, hey, if you keep playing, you can get some free goodies,
Oh, so
or
it's
you you can pay for this pass and you get like 5 times the amount of free goodies from playing.
do they
I mean,
still
air quotes free. It's not free goodies, but
yeah, do they have the shit the you can buy the season pass for the operators that come out? Is that still a
yeah,
thing that you can do?
yeah, that's still a thing.
Okay.
Uh, year year 5 hasn't technically started yet, so no new operators for this year have been announced yet.
Did I
But
buy the pass for year 3? Was that the one that I or did I buy year 4?
you definitely got 3. I don't know if you got 4.
All right, so then I skipped 4. All right, fair enough. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, but
um,
the map is interesting. Yeah,
Is it coming out permanently eventually or no?
I don't know, but it's out for a month.
Hmm.
So there's like 3 weeks left of the map being out.
That's pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah,
if it's fun, that's pretty cool.
it's a pretty cool map.
Nice. Um, yeah. So I mean, that's pretty much what we've been playing. The only other news that I have game related wise that I think is somewhat interesting, might not be to anybody who's listening to this. Temtem, if no one's heard of that, it's
I have not heard of Temtem.
so Temtem is a group of indie developers are creating the next collector game. So it's basically uh, taking Pokemon and they've made it into an MMO, and they're really pushing to be something that competes against Pokemon to push that series.
I
And
think that'd be really cool. That series needs a kick in the pants and some competition.
yeah, so it's early access now. It's $34.99. That's the only why I haven't looked at it. It's got some features I would recommend going looking at it. It's very different than well, it's different enough from Pokemon that they can't get sued. So the game is a little bit different.
Bare
Um,
minimum 10% in the United States.
yes, 10% different. Um, but it looks pretty cool. It looks interesting. Instead of battling 1v1, it's 2v1 or 2v2s. Um, and they've got some upgrades that make the game pretty good. It's something
And
that
you said Temtem is the name of the developer?
that's the name of the game is
Okay.
Temtem, and
Okay.
it's early access. It was on Kickstarter, so it just came out this week as well.
Is it still only for Kickstarter backers right now, or can you get it somewhere else now?
You can get it on Steam, and I'm looking at it on Humble Bundle, so it was just released, I believe, to the public. Uh, yeah, looks interesting. Looks like something that could be in let's say 4 months cool when they add more to it. It does look very very interesting though.
It from the pictures I'm looking at, it looks pretty interesting. I'll maybe hold off a little bit, but
I mean the killer with it is that it's $34.
yeah.
It should
And
honestly be
if it's gonna be MMO, and if it does take off, I think it's gonna be a good idea to get in early if it's gonna be your thing.
yeah. I wish it was about 15 and then that $15 price could potentially go up, but that's too
Yeah.
steep for someone who doesn't really want to
Who
try their hand at
isn't
that.
fully committed to this idea?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So Hyde, what is our thought process on today's podcast? What did we? Not this is basically this is what we're doing is bullshitting. But what was the
Yeah.
the idea of
Like the
bullshitting?
original idea or the idea we're gonna go with today?
Well, no. The idea we're going with today.
So today we're just gonna talk about TV shows we've been watching lately, just ranting about shit. You know,
Yeah,
I've got some things I want to rant about.
and it's
Well,
interesting because I know one of the topics that he wants to talk about, and I'm going to not rant, but just kind of give my thoughts years later about the original 1.5 movies for Star Wars. So the other side of the coin, because my
so like
girlfriend
the
and I,
original trilogy.
not even trilogy. So my girlfriend and I guess we'll just jump in.
Yeah.
Um,
You start. I'll follow up with
sounds
mine.
sounds good. So Star Wars is what I was alluding to. I pay and use Disney Plus. It's an interesting service. I think it's one of those things that people don't talk about when they're like, "Oh, it's going to be so great when Disney Plus comes out." And then as a male about to turn 30, after about a month of somebody, and I don't even watch movies that much, but even after like a month to 2 months, Disney Plus doesn't have much in it. Like, there's not much on
No,
Disney
it
Plus.
does. Like I pretty much watched The Mandalorian on there. Looked around to see what else there was. Maybe I'll go watch The Simpsons on there. That's about it.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing for me is I can justify it by saying, like, for the first month I bought it because other than paying for the original Guardians of the Galaxy, you cannot watch that anywhere else. So, and since I've grown older, I've never done this in my life, but if I were to pirate or illegally download movies, that would that whole part of my life went away when streaming services such as Spotify, Hulu, uh, Netflix all came into play. But the issue with Disney is it didn't seem like it had much, but I was justifying it by saying, well, I can't watch Guardians of the Galaxies anywhere else. And since I already had Hulu, it's basically only $6 a month for Disney Plus. It'd be $6 to rent this movie. Fine. That's fine. So that's how I've been justifying it per month, is saying, well, I would have paid this much for one movie anyways. Plus The Mandalorian I enjoyed and we watched that entire thing through. I thought it was good. I mean,
It was pretty good.
what okay, here how about this? Because we're gonna talk about The Witcher later. Do you
All right.
think that The Witcher or The Mandalorian were better? Because I know in our
Oh,
friend group chat we both gave The Witcher an 8 out of 10. It was
yes.
pretty good, pretty good. I
Well,
don't know if The Mandalorian is better than that.
I so like I also gave The Witcher a score because like I know that whole universe, so like I know it. I know pretty much everything that's going on, or like yeah, I don't agree with some changes, but like I'm fine with it. I don't know shit about the Star Wars universe, but I still really enjoy The Mandalorian, and
Hmm.
it felt because like The Witcher, there's a lot of complicated shit in the not holding your hand at all. But like I don't need my hand held because I understand like pretty much everything happening.
Yeah.
But like watching Mandalorian, I felt like it didn't matter that much about like understanding what was going on world wise. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. I think it's up there.
Yeah,
I
but see,
feel like Mandalorian is a bit more of a complete story than The Witcher.
and I agree. But at the same time, there was a couple episodes of The Mandalorian that I were just like, the episode where they go to that it's not island.
Spoilers.
Yeah, spoiler alert
Yeah.
if you haven't watched The
I'll throw
Mandalorian.
a big old spoiler warning up on the screen.
Yeah. But it's only episode 3, I believe, or 4. Whatever episode is the first time they go to that stupid planet where they're like primitive and they're being hunted by the
AT8,
the bandits or
the
whatever
chicken
it is.
walker.
Yeah,
I was really confused. Like, is this fucking priest like a fucking old school village? But it's like all the aliens are still there too, and it's like I was really confused about that actually. But yeah,
yeah,
I like it wasn't clear. It was like, is this like the whole fucking start of the episode was like, is this gonna be a fucking stupid ass first contact episode with the fucking Mandalorian?
yeah, and it wasn't. But there was so much with that episode that just didn't work on so many levels. The first contact part, the fact that they were there for like no time at all, but this girl wanted to bang him, which made no sense, like at all. Like it would have made more sense that maybe the
He
warrior
was
wanted to.
big, strong, silent type,
Yeah, who never
and
takes off
she
his
had,
mask.
and her husband was dead.
Yeah,
She was lonely.
yeah. Ugh.
Like,
So,
I mean, I agree, it was pretty dumb, but
like I believe I agree with you. I think the story was a complete linear package that felt good while you were watching it, where The Witcher was kind of not that, where it was awesome to watch. Like all of it was awesome to watch, but it wasn't this linear package that unpacked. Like it's still a box for season
yeah.
2, like The Witcher, but still, I think the world of The Witcher, like you were saying, it was better.
Well, like again, we're I don't know about you, but I don't know much about the Star Wars world. I know a lot of people have the inverse argument about The Witcher, where they don't understand the Witcher universe, but they know
Hmm.
Star Wars decently well.
Yeah. Um, so to my original point that I was trying to get into about Star Wars is the girlfriend and I have watched the first movie of Star Wars and then Spoilers, although you should have watched this by now.
If it's a movie from the 70s, you should have seen this.
Yeah, the second movie all the way up into where Leia and Han get captured from Vader in the city in the clouds by Lando, and Luke is trying to save them. Luke's hand isn't even cut off yet, so that's what I've made it up to in the second movie. So some initial interesting things that I've seen before you can go on your rant about the
My
other
thing.
side of the coin is it's interesting because through people that we've watched it with, they're like, wow, this movie really holds up. But at the same time, while watching it, I keep getting this weird feeling that while this universe is so cool and there's a lot of interesting things about it, it's still just. I could see if this movies came out now, people would rip them apart like they do the new movies. There's just a
Yeah.
lot of really weird things in it.
Well, a lot of Star Wars gets looked back on with some rose tinted glasses.
I mean, yeah, because even now people look back on the. What is it? They look back on the now 1, 2, and 3 and think that they're good. So, like, which is the
I,
thing.
I know someone who knows those movies like the back of his hand. He admits they're bad, but he likes them for nostalgia reasons.
Which is fine. I mean,
Yeah.
I like when I was growing up, I didn't know why people didn't like Jar Jar Binks. I was just too young to.
Yeah, I agree. Because, like, fuck, when did the first movie come out? Because I remember seeing it in theaters with my dad.
We can put it up on screen, but I'll look it up. Um, I'll look it up right now. So Star Wars Episode 1 came out in 1999. May
I
19th,
was.
1999.
I had just turned 5 then.
And I was 9. So clearly we and this shows you how ridiculous this, all right? The budget was $115 million. In the box office, it made 1.027 billion.
People really like the Star Wars.
Yes, they do. But that's all I really wanted to say about Star Wars is that we're watching Star Wars again, and it shows you how much this was a drop off. So Star Wars Episode 2, $120 million budget, only made 649 million.
Ooh, that's a hard drop.
Yeah, so people really didn't like Episode 2. And then I barely even remember Episode 3.
I I mean, I saw all 3 in theaters with my dad. I could, like, in hindsight, I could tell he wasn't thrilled about it, but I mean, he knew I liked it because I liked the laser swords.
That's great.
Yeah,
Episode 3 budget was 113 million. It made 850. So
that's
it
still maybe more.
yeah, it found it. Water found its level though.
Yeah. Have you heard of the? I don't know if it has an actual name, but it's like a different way to watch, like, order to watch the movies in, and some people say it makes it like almost better.
Is it like chronological order?
No. So, like, what is recommended is you watch episodes 4 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of 5, you get the "No, Luke, I am your father," or whatever the actual quote is.
Yeah.
Then you go back and watch the prequels to learn all about Darth Vader's backstory. Then you
Oh,
watch. Then you watch Return of the Jedi.
okay. Well, so then
Oh,
wait.
just to be clear, some people recommend skipping episode 1 entirely.
No, those people are wrong. It's part of it.
You have to deal with the
Yeah,
Misa.
not just that, but the part where the age difference between the Padme and the young Anakin awkwardness later happens, where you're like, wait, what the fuck? That
Well,
to
I
me
mean,
was the weirdest part. Was I was just like, I remember being little and looking at it and going, this doesn't make sense.
well, as someone who's 4 years younger than you, the thought never crossed my mind.
Fair enough.
I would have either probably been 7 or 8 when the second one came out.
Yeah. So, needless to say, we're going back through all of them. But what I was gonna say though is if you watch 4 and 5, shouldn't you watch, like, if you're gonna put all of them and not just the episodic one, two,
Well,
three, four?
if you're about to say Rogue One,
Mm-hmm.
this idea came up before Rogue One came
Before
out.
Rogue One. Would you say Rogue One before the A New Hope?
While I really enjoy Rogue One, it's still a side story, and I would not consider it to be required viewing
Mm-hmm.
to get the Star Wars experience.
I only say it that way because it specifically ends into A New Hope.
Right. But there's also issues of watching a brand new movie with a bunch of brand new technology and then suddenly switching over to the 70s,
Yeah, there's some pretty bad
which
technology.
which is something I am going to talk about when I talk about my topic.
Which, I mean, let's just jump into it now. We can go to the other side. It was just a little tangent on Star Wars that the world is still fantastic. I don't know if people would love it now if Star Wars was released in 2020 as like um, a new franchise. The only other thing that I really wanted to bring up is I'm not sure if you heard. I watched this on the Phil DeFranco show, which is a YouTube person as well. I'm sure he's huge. But they were talking about it on the news where I live, on the radio. Netflix is changing the way that their views count now. So if you watch 2 minutes of an episode, it counts as a full view for that whatever you
Wait,
watch.
I I thought that's how it would have worked already, and they're making it so it doesn't count.
No, 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 no. So how it works now is, or was working, was you had to watch 70% of the TV show. So their theory of why they're changing it is because some television shows are 15 minutes and some are 3 hours. So to get 15 or 70% of a 3 hour show is a lot different than a 15-minute show. So
I
they're moving it more towards what all the other streaming services do.
I feel like that's gonna artificially inflate numbers for shows.
It it will. So they showed it was Our Planet, and this is from the Phil DeFranco show that I watched. So
Yeah,
if he can
I haven't heard this, so this is news to me.
Yeah, yeah. It inflated their 35 million views or whatever was to 45 million views on
Jesus.
that show. But the reason I'm bringing it up, based off of the topics that we've talked about, is The Witcher, in the first month that it was released, on this new algorithm they have, 75 million views on episode 1.
But what's the actual view count then? Because how many
They,
people just stopped watching it after 5 minutes?
who knows? I
Like
mean, yeah,
Entertainment Weekly.
according to Netflix, it doesn't matter. 2 minutes is what they count as a view, so 75 million.
Oh God, I hate that so much.
Yeah, me too. But what are you gonna do?
I mean, nothing.
Yeah, we can't do anything. But yeah, so that's my little rant on that. A little bit interesting tidbit. Uh, there you go. Rant away, Hyde.
All right, so we were talking about going to the other side of the coin with your Star Wars topic. I want to talk about Star Trek
Dun dun
because
dun.
I didn't grow up watching Star Trek. I think my dad would watch an episode every now and then, like if nothing else was on. Oh, I remember one time I was just on a TV in a hospital waiting room and we were just watching it. I just didn't care. But a couple months ago, I decided I was going to give it a try because okay, so I wanted to watch a show called The Orville, which is a Seth MacFarlane show, which on the surface is a parody of Star Trek.
That's the one in space, right?
Yes,
Okay.
that is the one in space. But so I decided I'd watch Star Trek first instead, so I can at least know the source material they're gonna parody.
Mm-hmm.
And well, how much do you know about Star Trek?
I've seen the movies. Um,
Like the recent movies or some of
yeah,
the
the
old movies
recent
too?
movies. I mean, I know. I'd say we're fairly nerdy. Like I won't be able to hold a conversation like crazy with you about this,
I
but
mean, that's fine.
I'm definitely interested in what you have to say about it.
Well, like, so it was like a couple months ago I decided to finally start watching it, and like, there's let's see, 6 or 7 different series of Star Trek. There's of course the original one back in the '60s. There's the Next Generation TNG, which is super popular. It it's the one that every fucking actor, well, okay, every actor who's been in the original series or TNG's almost slavish to Star Trek in that they almost can't get away from it.
Like they don't want to, or they're
Like,
just
have you
not
ever seen
allowed.
Galaxy Quest?
Yeah,
Or like, it's not that they're not allowed; it's just that it's the only thing anyone knows them for,
true.
and it's pretty much the one thing they get jobs for constantly
Hmm.
because you know how fans can be. Don't get the same actor. How dare you?
Well, it's almost like Robert Downey Jr. now and as Iron Man, right?
Yeah, but well, it's also weird because some of these other series out there, like there's one called Enterprise or like Deep Space Nine or Voyager, where it's like they can't get away from TNG. Like TNG has to be linked to these other series somehow.
Is that
Like,
the same with this new series?
well, the brand new series coming out is literally TNG 2
Oh yeah,
because
because wait.
they brought back Patrick Stewart. They got a bunch of the actors from TNG.
Oh,
Like,
good lord.
I know, I guess Patrick Stewart was excited for it, and I guess Jonathan Frakes was up for it too, and a couple of the other actors. But it's like I'm talking about series that don't directly involve these characters or these actors. They like have to have them somehow. The last fucking episode of Enterprise straight up takes place like 400 years later in the future during one of these series, and there's fucking two of the actors right there just talking like, "Oh yeah, did you go learn about this?" And like the whole episode is just two characters from the next generation talking about these characters from Enterprise. It's like, Jesus Christ, let this fucking show be its own thing.
Uh,
Because like every now and then a callback is one thing, but the entire last episode of that series was just a next generation episode with the actors, with the sets. And it's like, Jesus Christ. Like the
s-
show can't get away from it.
so, and that's like the show's golden years, right?
Right.
So I guess like I don't understand. Is Star Trek considered popular still?
Uh I
No.
mean, I don't know because I don't go around looking up people talking about Star Trek too much.
Hmm.
Like I don't go to any fan bases or whatnot. But like I know there are currently 2 series going on. One of them I hear is really bad, and I haven't watched it, so I don't know. But it's just what I hear. And then there's the new one that's essentially Next Generation 2, where they just dug up all the old actors, said, "Here's a bunch of money, come work for us."
But I mean, if
Uh,
that works, right?
yeah, but from what I hear, it's still not that good because they're trying to do the same formula as the other ongoing series that isn't as good.
Hmm.
Well, like I mean, the originals are like TNG and all the series that ran parallel to it, like Voyager and Deep Space Nine, are they're pretty like they're good, but like Voyager and Deep Space Nine can't get away from TNG almost. Like the entire first fucking episode of Deep Space Nine has Captain Picard, which is Sir Patrick Stewart's character. Like he's there at the start of the episode and the end of the episode to kick off the series, which I guess is fine, but like I don't know. I guess they're just trying to have these series be interconnected, considering they're supposed to take place at the same time, which is fine. And maybe I'm just being like an asshole.
So okay, so are you watching one of these Star Treks then, or did you
I
watch it and then you were like, all right, fuck this?
I watched all of TN. Like I'm still watching these. I watched all TNG, which is pretty good. I've watched some of Deep Space Nine. I just started Voyager, and I'm gonna finish Voyager next.
Okay,
I've watched Enterprise. I've watched like half the fucking Star Trek series,
so
but like I tried starting the original series after I watched the Next Generation, which there's like a 20-year gap between those shows being made.
mhm.
Was that a fucking mistake to try to go backwards?
Oh, it gets like really not
Well, it's
CGI, like bad CGI and all of that.
well, I mean, the '80s Next Generation didn't have too much CGI, but like different type. Well, not super different type of writing, but like it's hard where it's like these shows aren't that far apart, but like all these different. It's I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like it definitely doesn't help that fucking what's his name? William Shatner is
Oh
weird
yeah,
motherfucker on screen.
is he like a good actor when it comes to that, or is it just like super like
I mean, do you want like Heath Ledger, or Joaquin Phoenix playing the Joker good, or do you want like wow that was something to watch kind of a good? Because like
If it's the second one, then I'm gonna pass and I don't need to see it.
Colton, did you watch a bunch of Family Guy?
I did. I've watched enough, and I haven't watched any
Do
of
you
the.
do you know Family Guy's interpretation of William Shatner?
Yes. So that's it. That's where they get it from.
It's not nearly that bad, but it's like that.
Ugh.
It's not too far off. But like there's a Twilight Zone episode with William Shatner that I see they make fun of a lot, and it's like they are not too far off. Like it makes sense for what's going on in that Twilight Zone episode, but like it doesn't translate well to Star Trek, in my opinion,
That's.
because there's some. Uh, the original series also just has some weird shit, dude.
But
Like,
so the original series is the one that made it popular, though, right?
right. Well, the original series is what started like sort of the yeah, it's what made it popular at first. Was more like a sort of a cult following thing. TNG is sort of what made it get a bit bigger.
And what does TNG stand for?
The next generation.
Okay.
It's like the second series. It has different characters, different actors, and all that.
Okay.
But like I'm not discouraging people from watching it. Absolutely watch some Star Trek. It's really good, especially the next generation. Uh, that being said, Sci-Fi has some weird bullshit. Sometimes that weird bullshit's really funny if you think about it for more than a second. Sometimes that weird bullshit's uncomfortable. So here's some funny weird bullshit. I think you're gonna get a kick out of this. So in the next generation, there's a doctor named Crusher. She's Scottish heritage.
Hmm.
Her grandma lives on a planet founded by people from Edinburgh.
Go
Well,
on.
her, well, her grandma died, so she goes to the funeral, whatever. Stays the night at her grandma's house. Starts reading her grandma's journal. Well, grandma's been having a little fun with this gentleman. I don't remember the name. All pretty much all the way up until she died. And Doctor Crusher, that's her name. She goes, what? Who is this mysterious gentleman that my grandmother is currently banging up until her death? Well, she's next day she ends up meeting someone who happens to be the person, and they start talking and they start a thing, and she goes to quit like being part of Starfleet, which is like their organization, and Captain's like, "Oh, excuse me, what the fuck?" And they start looking into it. Essentially, the whole story is that doctor's family has had a sex ghost as part of their family for generations. It'll just latch on to a random woman from the family and just bang. It's a Scottish sex ghost.
Oh
I didn't
God.
come up with that line, but it's a perfect way to describe that episode. And I watched that episode on Halloween, which is pretty topical of the day. I was just like, it was Halloween. I was just watching. I was like, "Ooh, a ghost story, cool."
Not
Little
a
did I
ghost
know.
story I wanted.
uh, it was a pretty good episode. It was a pretty interesting episode. But then sometimes you get some weird bullshit, like specifically also from Next Generation. Some bullshit goes on, and they have to like teleport out of their shuttle pod. But there's some weird time bullshit, so the teleporter turns them all into children.
Okay.
So the whole episode is them like because
Trying.
like they still have all their memories of being adults, but and there's
God.
still high-ranking officers on this ship, and they're trying to command the whole ship, but like
As children.
their their brains are child brains, so they kind of just want to do what children want to do. Like specifically, two of them are like, "We have to be serious," and the other's like, "But there's a bed we can jump on over there." So they go and they jump on the bed instead.
So wait, and this is the one that's considered to be the best version of the show.
Yes.
I
Look,
feel.
there was really good stuff in that show, and there was some really fucking bad stuff in that show.
I mean,
But
hey man, whatever floats the fans' boats for for that.
yeah. But there is also an episode in the original series. I'm only like 10 episodes into the original series. I'm not gonna talk about that thing on mic because that's a rough topic. But it's
Wait,
like there's there's a rough thing I'm not going to talk about while we're recording. I can tell you about it afterwards.
all right, on the show is what you mean.
On the show. Yep.
Okay.
It happens on the show.
Okay.
But so like and I get like the whole sci-fi genres thing is like oh, they write about the fears of like the days of like the people at the day, which is like I've also watched a series Star Trek Enterprise,
Hmm.
which that hits that show like a ton of bricks because 9/11 happened halfway through the first like right after the first season started airing.
Of course it did.
So like end of season 2 there's like a spoiler alert for Star Trek Enterprise. There's like a massive fucking terrorist attack that happens on Earth. So the entire third season is them hunting down the terrorists. Yeah, it's like watching this in 2019 into 2020, you know, 19 years later.
a
It's like
little
a ugh.
cringy.
Yeah.
Little an oof moment.
Well, okay, end of season 3 they like solve everything. There's peace now. But then the end of that series takes a hard turn that made me mad and made me just skip straight to the last episode. So end of more spoilers for the fucking series. They get back to Earth, they save the day. Hey, why is there no subspace beacon telling us, hey, welcome to Earth? Hey, why are there no satellites? Let's get in a shuttle pod and go down, see what's going on. Oh, there's San Francisco. Oh, cool. Oh, hey, look at those funny flying things. Oh, those are old school airplanes. Oh, cool. They're in fucking World War II.
Huh.
And it's the Nazis are being controlled by aliens. I literally said, fuck off, turned off the TV and went to bed. And the next day, I just went and watched the last episode and called it good.
Yeah, I think that's probably for the best when it
Yeah.
comes to stuff like
Like,
that.
I read the descriptions of, like, a bunch of the episodes for the last season, season 4.
Hmm.
And when I talk about not being able to get away from Star Trek TNG, oh boy, does that season have it hard. Because they have a characters like there's a character in TNG that's a android, and like his maker was a huge deal. So that maker's grandfather is in the last season, and it's played by that actor. And
Ugh.
it's like, wow, they like can't get away from this at all.
Yeah, but that's probably where they're making the money in, so that's why they're doing
Yeah.
that. Well, I think what I've learned from this conversation of Star Trek is I won't like Star Trek, so I don't
Well,
want to watch it.
well then, do you like Seth MacFarlane stuff?
Oh yeah, that's how they started. Um,
Well, okay. Like, did you like Ted or Do you like Family Guy or American Dad?
I'd say
Like
he's a
early stuff.
solid 50-50 hit for me. Sometimes I
Okay,
enjoy it, sometimes I
because this whole started because I wanted to check out the Orville,
don't.
and I'm glad I watched the original series or I'm glad I watched Star Trek before I watched the Orville, because Orville's really fucking good in my opinion. Uh, the main thing is in season one or first couple episodes at least, you have to really put up with Seth MacFarlane humor if you don't like it. Which,
Mm.
if you do like it, great, and I don't mind it, so I thought it was fun. But the rest of the series is just straight up Star Trek. Like, I found out Seth MacFarlane is a huge Star Trek nerd.
By what do you mean straight up Star Trek? Like he just makes fun of it straight up, or
No, like I would not be surprised to see these up. Like some of these episodes are straight lifts of Star Trek episodes. Some of these I would not be surprised to see in a Star Trek episode.
huh?
Like
So wait, it's
the
not
like
funny though. Then
no, like clearly Seth MacFarlane lied to Fox to get them to greenlight the show as a comedy so he can make Star Trek.
huh?
Because Seth MacFarlane is actually in 2 episodes of Star Trek,
Hmm.
which when he's in there, it pulls me out of it because I know it's Seth MacFarlane and his voice is very distinct.
Yeah.
But like, I think Seth MacFarlane went to ask to make Star Trek and they told him no. So he went to Fox and said, "Hey, can I make my own Star Trek, please?"
And they just
And
said
and they said, "Sure. It's gonna be funny, right?" And Seth MacFarlane just goes, "Sure."
the ultimate joke is what he's doing to Fox.
Well, like, so I didn't get this the first time. Is there's an episode of South or of not South Park of Family Guy where they go to a Star Trek convention and Stewie kidnaps the entire cast of the Next Generation. I found out they literally just got all the actors in there to voice themselves for that episode. That's literally all of them, all making fun of themselves.
That's pretty funny.
He Stewie even kills a character that dies in the first fucking season of the show. Like they're all there, and his character says something, so Stewie just shoots her and goes, "Any questions?" And it's fucking brutal how
But it's
it
what
happens.
happens in the show.
Pretty much, yeah. It's
That's
like, damn,
funny.
yeah. And
Interesting.
I think that's how Seth MacFarlane got Patrick Stewart to be in fucking American Dad.
Oh yeah, he is an
Yeah,
American Dad.
he plays the CIA director.
Yeah. Huh. That's
But
funny. Um.
I would I would recommend checking out the Orville even just a little bit.
All right. I mean, I'm not really a Star Trek fan, so
Yeah.
if
Well, I
it's
mean, I didn't give a shit about Star Trek before I started watching it. Now that I've been watching it, I actually really appreciate it.
okay, interesting. It's good to know. It's good to
It's a
know.
good show, but sometimes there's just really weird bullshit.
Sounds like yeah. It may be my I'm that's my issue with television is I'm not really a huge television guy.
Yeah.
But we did have one other show that we were going to talk about, but that's probably going to take us way too long because our joke of 15 minutes now has been roughly an hour, 2 day, 2 podcasts in a
Two
row.
podcasts in a row. Yep.
So, at least we're good at budgeting time for these things.
Yep. That's our strong suit. Time budgeting.
Time budgeting. So the last one that we were going to talk about was My Hero Academia, but I think it might be better to hold off on that until the either we're farther into the season or the season's done.
I'd
Based off,
I'd say let's hold off on till the end of the season.
yeah, then I'm good with that.
Yeah.
um, well then, I guess that's unless there's anything else you want to say.
If anyone has a intro they want to make and send it into fifthdraft at gmail, the5thdraft@gmail.com,
Or an outro.
uh, or an outro. We also have a Discord that I'll just put a link in the description. So if you'd like to come join the Fifth Draft Discord, it's there.
And yeah, I don't really give a fuck if you like or comment, so we're not really making
Yeah,
money on this.
that's not our problem.
No, it doesn't matter. Thank
This
you
is
for
for
actually just listening to it.
yeah, for right now. This is just for funsies.
Yeah. So, but yeah, until next Wednesday, I'm Colton.
And I'm Hyde.
See you next time.
See you next. We need to get a sign off.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good night.
Peace.